Welcome back, everybody, to the Cultureverse podcast. We have a great episode for you guys today. We're going to start off with our current events, like always, but then we all went ahead and saw Captain America Brave New World. So we're going to be giving you guys our review over that movie. But as always, Tyler, kick us off with the current events.
Number one, expect the mask to stay on for majority of Doomsday for Spider-Man, as Tom Holland will be filming The Odyssey, Doomsday, and Spider-Man 4, so it will be a Mandalorian type situation. Spider-Man 4 is also supposed to have the highest budget out of all the MCU Spider-Man films. I'm really happy they're doing this. From my memory, every single fight scene we have had with Spider-Man, Tom Holland specifically, he always has his mask off. It's kind of annoying in my opinion.
Okay, future.
I, I, I don't. I mean, obviously, me being a Spider-Man fan, I'm gonna like it always, but like, I don't really have an issue with him having his mask off. However, I have obviously no issue with him having his mask on either. So, like, either way, this makes sense. Like, it absolutely makes sense. Tom Holland is one of the biggest actors in Hollywood right now. I mean, everybody wants him in their projects. It makes sense that he's going to be doing something like this. I believe that in terms of being one of the biggest budgets, it's currently at, as far as we know. It's at 200 million, which is insane. So
Who's
that
directing this?
I believe it's going to be the guy who
Christopher
did
Nolan?
Shang-Chi, unless he got
Yes,
fired.
yes. Nope.
At one point they discussed him potentially not doing it, but I think it is him right now.
Talking about Doomsday or Spider-Man 4?
Spider-Man 4.
Yes, he's doing
Yeah.
that. I don't think he was supposed to do Doomsday, but that's
Yeah.
the one he
And then
dropped out of.
yes, because now that's the Russo brothers. But yeah, I mean, I think this makes sense. Obviously, Spider-Man is. I will be shocked if Spider-Man isn't pretty much the main character of Doomsday. I mean, they've been building this up for a long time. Spider-Man is clearly the best way to go in terms of popularity. With the characters we have left, everybody at least likes Spider-Man at the very minimum. Tom Holland being as popular as he is, I understand for sure his movie making so much money. I mean, Spider-Man 4 is important, so I'm excited to see where this goes. But yeah, it makes sense why this whole mask on thing is going to be a pretty significant job they have to do.
I mean, just in general, like, no one knows who it is too, so I think that adds a little bit of an aspect to. I
Yeah,
mean, a
that's
small thing, like not like a
yeah.
major
Well,
part,
they
but
can yeah.
yeah. But either way, I agree. I mean, we get more suit content. I think that's what people want with Spider-Man sometimes. So it's like whatever.
Hmm. Yeah, especially with the new suit from the end of No Way Home.
Yeah.
The more of that, the better.
Now we can just clip for him.
Yeah, I mean, dude's
Just
just
the
dude's just
edits will go crazy.
oro farming. Yeah, just making as many edits as we can. But yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense for sure. It'll be interesting to see how often he does have his mask off because I'm sure we'll see him as Peter. I mean, at some point you're gonna
Who's
see him as
that?
Peter. So like, at some point you're gonna see him as Peter Parker. So like, I don't know. I'm curious to see how much they really commit to just doing the voice acting and keeping the mask on.
Jack, thoughts?
I also
None.
don't really have any sort of problem with this. Don't speak for me. I They work just fine in The Mandalorian. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't work here. It's actually, to some extent, I agree with Tyler. It's actually pretty practical to just have him record his lines and just keep the mask on. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I know Tom Holland likes to do stunts and acrobatic stuff to get into the character, but I'm not worried about it whatsoever.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with a role
It,
like getting to
it's
be in
better than
Odyssey.
delaying the
Like,
movie.
oh yeah, absolutely. But
If
especially you also can't blame the guy. I mean, being one of the leads in Christopher Nolan's Odyssey movie, like
Bro's busy.
that's crazy. Yeah, bro is busy. Bro's gonna be doing the 200 mil Spider-Man 4 movie and the Odyssey, as well as whatever other projects he'll probably end up getting roped into at some point. So yeah, he is a popular man to say the least.
Timothy Chalamet and Tom Holland. Who's more busy right now?
Tom Holland.
um,
Timothy Chalamet does some like I wouldn't say smaller level stuff, but
He
you
had a busy year
just
this year
he
for
did, but
sure.
he didn't score Christopher Nolan's Odyssey. That's a pretty big
Well,
one.
what all was Timothy in this year? The Bob Dylan
Dune.
movie
Dune.
and Dune.
Two
It
movies in a
wasn't.
year is pretty
Well, he
impressive.
also did Wonka just 2 years. He just did
Yeah,
Wonka
Yeah.
like the year
winter
before
of
Yeah.
that.
20. Yeah, winter of 23.
There was definitely
Tom's
something
busier.
else. I can't think of what it was though.
That's a lot of movies in a year span.
Yeah, true. But
Do you
yeah,
know how much time they probably spend on set for Christopher Nolan movies with
yeah, true.
all the shit that he
Honestly, I don't think
does
it's like
for
usually
those
that long
films?
because it's like no film. He
Well,
has like the no phone rule, and then it's like they get through filming pretty fast usually, I think.
They
that's
probably
also a
I
good
film for like
point.
12-hour days.
probably, and then it takes 3 months.
I'm also assuming most movie sets of good films are gonna be pretty weird,
Right.
pretty
Yeah.
long and out long hours and whatnot. But either way, Tom Holland is yeah, he's a rising star to say the least.
All right, if we're ready to move on, we can move on. All right.
I'll think about it.
The second current event I have is a rumor, but it's a very good rumor. Rumors are swirling that Disney is quietly setting sail on Pirates of the Caribbean 6. And yes, Johnny Depp might return as Captain Jack Sparrow. Walt Disney Studios is getting ready to begin production on the sixth pirate movie. While there is no timeline for when production might officially begin, it's likely a ways off since there's no director or cast. Johnny Depp is expected to return if this movie is to continue.
Oh, I mean, we've talked about this concept like at least 3 or 4 times on the podcast, just talking about whether they decide to go with Depp or whether they decide to just go off on their own. I mean, whether this is a rumor or not, to even know that it's being discussed now is definitely a good sign. My only thing, and I know I said this last time we talked about Pirates of the Caribbean, I still would really like a spin-off series with different characters. I would. Like I would like us to do something different and maybe have obviously have Depp make an appearance. Like that'd be sweet. But like I don't just want us to make Pirates of the Caribbean 6 and just go on from there with like this. I mean, what? How long has it been since the last one came out? It's been at least a
7 years,
decade, at least. No, okay, 7 years.
7, 8 years
Yeah. So
since
like
Dead Men Tell
I
No
don't
Tales.
know. I mean, in my opinion, instead of just picking up after 7, 8 years, I'd like to see a spinoff with more a different side of this pirate universe in the same universe, but a different side of the pirate life, and then have Depp make appearances within it, not just a little like one-off cameo where he's in a bar or something, but make an appearance where he actually does something, and that's where you can use Depp. But that's just my opinion. So I'm curious what you guys think.
Well, I think it's a terrible opinion, honestly. I'm kidding.
Okay, cool.
Having Johnny Depp back will be like seeing, oh man, what would that? It would be like, oh
Hugh
man,
Jackman back and Depp and Wolverine.
yeah, that's what it would be
Hayden
like. Sitting
Christensen.
there in theaters watching that man
That
pull
that
up.
too.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
For
So
sure. Yeah, no, I definitely agree. It'd be sick. Yeah, I'm not against it. I just, yeah, for sure.
My only concern would be that Disney Star Wars is in, where they just bring him back just to kill him.
That would
'Cause
suck.
that's the
I
shit
don't
they
think
did
he
with
would.
the
I
sequels.
no way he signs up for that.
Yeah, I
They,
would hope
yeah,
not.
No
That
way.
would
I
suck.
would hope not as well. I mean, that was kind of the vibe I started to get by the time Dead Man Tell No Tales came out, where like they brought back Barbosa and he was like 75 years old or something, and it was like they're gonna kill my one of my favorite characters, aren't they? He's
He's
literally just here so he can die.
Harrison Ford
So like
moment.
that
We can get Davy Jones back.
that's literally every single Star Wars movie that came out from Disney that they just kill like one of the old characters. Is like we all know why they're here. We're here to bring emotional value so we can kill them. So do not do that to him if you're going to bring him back. He deserves to lay on a beach drinking rum until he dies.
In this
Well,
movie.
it wouldn't take
That's all
long.
he wants. That's all he wants.
That can be the
So
end credit scene of this movie.
like Gabe said, I
He
don't mind if he
just
like
dies.
plays a supporting role or well, yeah, honestly, I wouldn't even be that mad if they had like an older Jack Sparrow
Exactly.
that just died happily, just you know, hanging out. But like bring him back for some climactic fight, just like kill him for emotional value. I'd be like, okay,
Yeah, for sure.
great.
Just to have him in like one
I'd be
last
like, that's
movie.
wonderful.
Just to have him in one last movie where he's in it for like 80% of the movie and then just dies in the end and be like, good job, guys. I'm really glad we did this. Like, what a stupid idea. So, like, that's why I think a spin-off series with him involved would be cool because then you can just have his moments. And then if you want to have him not come back, you can do what we are just talking about. Have this like Jack Sparrow-esque ending where he just pretty much pisses off and retires essentially. And he doesn't
Yeah.
even have to die. He can literally just, like you just said, drink himself drunk on a beach until the end of his days. But
Might I remind us of what the end credit scene of the last movie teased? Do we remember?
Davy
They teased
Jones.
Davy Jones coming back.
Mhm.
which is like how? But because not only did he die, but they also literally broke every curse in the sea in the last movie.
Mhm.
So that doesn't really make a lot of sense.
No.
So I'm just the whole movie is a big question mark for me. Obviously, we'll all go see it because it's a damn Pirates of the Caribbean movie, but I just there's so early on. Like this movie, even if it got like started filming or something, there's no way this is coming out until like 2027 or 8, right?
Absolutely not.
It's
You have a
Somehow,
so
David,
stroke?
far away.
somehow David Jones
Oh
returned.
my! I thought you were like passing a kidney stone. I
No,
did
I
not
was saving
understand.
that until Jack was
I
done.
was really struggling to see.
I was
what
waiting. I was
happening.
waiting
I,
for it to be
I
done.
want you to just crop the recording so it's just Caleb's box and it's just him just going
I was waiting for you to finish
for like
your spiel.
25 seconds.
Yeah, that was good.
What
Yeah,
you
at
say
least he
is-
was respectful about it. But every time I looked up and he was just like,
Well, yeah, I kept like
He's
my
so
eyes kept going
senile.
back and forth. I was like, what the hell is going
I
on
know.
with
I
this
was
guy
like,
over
is
there?
he all right?
I had to say the bit.
And it was just to say that shit. It wasn't even like
All right, well, I have a serious question to pose now. What if he got like a Logan type movie where it was like called Jack, and he just kind of had like his, like a. I know it
they
sounds
just
corny, but
copy
like
it and say call it Jack.
just generally something like where he gets like a movie kind of like Logan for his franchise.
Instead
don't
of doing
know.
the like steroid boost at the end, he just chugs an entire bottle of rum and then jumps off the top mast.
He
I'm
chugs,
just-
he
I'm just
chugs an
asking
entire
generally
bottle
speaking.
and then he chugs an entire bottle, then just immediately loses a fight because he's drunk. No, honestly, I don't think that's worth attempting. I think Logan pulled off something incredibly difficult, which was killing off a character that is so dearly loved. I don't think it's worth trying that with Jack Sparrow. I think that would go poorly, in my opinion. It would have to be literally perfect, which that's tough. That's tough to
Yeah,
follow.
Jack Sparrow is a character people don't want fucked around with. So if they don't do his, if this is going to be like a send off movie for Johnny Depp, and you're presumably going to have to throw like $100 million at the guy to even get him to show up,
Probably more than that.
it's going to be it has to be perfect. They can't screw anything up, or the movie will just get bombed in
Mhm.
reviews. It'll be gone.
Yep, I agree. Okay, well, I think we can go ahead and end off there and let's get into the Brave New World review. In terms of the order, we're going to go with me, then Caleb, then Jack, and then Tyler. But Tyler, would you like to get up on your soapbox here and say something before we
Yeah,
start?
I would like to take the stand real
It
quick.
should be good.
All right, all right, all
How
right.
do you
let's
even know
hear
what a
it.
soapbox is?
Nope, no idea. So we're gonna move on from that. So I have seen this as a big complaint around social media with this movie, which is that you have to do your homework for this movie, which is true. Eternals, Incredible Hulk, Falcon Winter Soldier, etc. And my thoughts on that is no shit. This is a cinematic universe that is 30 plus projects deep. If you're going to a movie like this and you haven't seen these projects, you're going to be a bit lost. And frankly, that's on you. Marvel shouldn't have to hold our hand and make movies that have nothing to do with previous projects. That takes away from the entire point of a cinematic universe. So quit complaining that you have to do homework because that's the whole point of a universe.
I don't
I
like doing
actually-
homework.
So I actually agree.
Preach, Tyler.
There you go. There you go.
I haven't seen that complaint necessarily, but like
I have.
Seen it
I
everywhere.
for one, I mean, I'm not saying you're
No,
wrong.
no,
I'm
no,
just
yeah,
saying
yeah, yeah. Yep.
I think I was probably one of those people that was like, oh god, this is like a lot of stuff I have to remember before the movie. But you know what I did? I watched a 6-minute YouTube video recapping some of the stuff that happened. Like I've seen
It's
these
that
movies.
easy.
I watched
that
a
easy.
6-minute thing and they like taught me. I was like, all right, ready to go. Like, yeah, I just need a
Yes.
refresher.
Yep, exactly. And guess what to those fans that are also complaining about that? Every Marvel movie that continues to come out will require you to understand the lore. It's not
Yeah.
just going to go away. Like,
I agree.
welcome to the MCU, dude. Like, this has not
Yeah.
been a new thing. You're
These
telling
aren't-
me, where was this
Yeah.
complaint for Infinity War?
Yeah.
You literally had to know everything up to Infinity War. Like,
These
okay,
aren't a
yeah,
bunch of
sure.
individual movies. These are a straight story that you
Yes,
have.
exactly. That's why people love the MCU because it's
Mhm.
connected. Like that's the
Yeah.
beauty of it. So don't complain because now I'm not saying you have to sit down and watch it all. It's your choice at the end of the day. But if you choose not to, do not complain as if it's the movie's fault because it's not.
No, I agree. I think people are just thinking it's easier because of movies that have come out or going to come out, like Thunderbolts, and I guess there's some stuff for Thunderbolts, but like Fantastic Four, like you don't have to really technically
Well,
know
that you
anything.
100% don't need to watch anything because it doesn't even take place
Yeah.
in that time.
But I'm
True.
just saying there's newer stuff that's been coming out that's kind of like intro stuff for characters. And I think this is the first one recently for me where I've been like, okay, I need to like actually think about the things that have happened.
Right.
And I guess I didn't really feel odd people were complaining about that. That's crazy to me.
The only thing that I see a little bit more validity to is when Marvel decided to make like 8 TV shows in the meantime too, because I'm a pretty big Marvel guy. I've seen like half their TV shows they've made.
Some big
Granted,
Marvel guy.
Get him off the
they're
stage.
not, for one, the ones I haven't watched are all the ones that everyone shit on because they weren't good. And that's the whole reason we got to the point where we are now, where we're focusing on quality over quantity again. That's the only thing I see with their point is I'm not watching like 5 TV shows to go watch a new movie. However, I would just do exactly what Caleb said. Watch a YouTube video, read a synopsis.
Yeah,
If you
give it
really
10
need to
minutes.
know, it's not that hard. You don't, if you really need to know what happened in She-Hulk and you don't want to watch it, don't. Just look it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
If it's not that
I don't,
good, look
You
it
know,
up.
actually don't need to watch that because it's that
I'm
bad.
saying if there
Alright.
was like a project that had something to do with She-Hulk in the future, God forbid, there would be like,
Help us.
just read it. Like if it's that bad and you don't want to spend 10 hours of your time watching it, then
Yeah.
I understand doing that.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that annoys me more is like back when Marvel first kind of started out to watch the first Avengers movie, to watch 5 movies and then you watch the Avengers. And that was kind of how it was up until they started making the TV shows. Now I feel like there's a ton of stuff. But anyway,
Yeah.
that's the only thing I see that's valid. But once again, just Google it if it's that big of a problem.
Yeah, it's like this was just a little analogy I just thought of. It's like opening a puzzle and putting one piece down and then being angry that the rest of the pieces don't fit like perfectly. It's like, what are we doing? Like, you cannot complain that the puzzle's not been built when you didn't put the effort in. Like,
Yeah.
it's gonna
Well,
not work unless you put the effort in to understand it. That's like
yeah.
literally the concept to anything in life. Like, if you don't put any effort to understand something, you can't complain that it doesn't make sense. Like,
Well, it's just an unfair expectation to the studio to have them have to try to write every story as if they've seen no other movie. That's
Yeah.
just an
well,
impossible
it'll never
task.
be connected. Nothing will ever be connected.
It's like watching the new Mission Impossible that comes out this summer. If you haven't seen
Well,
any other movies, you're probably not going to get it.
it's a little less brain power.
How many Mission Impossibles have you seen, Caleb?
Let me think. 0.
Yeah, if you watch the new one, you wouldn't understand what's happening. It's the same analogy. I'm
mostly
just saying
kidding.
every franchise, you need to watch the movies before if you want to understand everything going on. Could you watch it and still enjoy it? Maybe. You're not going to understand everything. It just happens to be that Marvel is the most successful franchise out of all of them, so they have the
And
most
probably
movies.
the biggest. Yeah.
Yeah,
I see what
probably.
you're saying.
Definitely. Yeah.
I just
They,
like I don't consider
they're more
myself a master.
successful. It's same with Star Wars. In
Yeah.
DC, they have all these projects because they're the biggest franchises. That's just how it goes.
Yeah.
Shit, even James Bond is kind of like that, except for they reboot all the time. So
Yeah. Well, you can
kinda
actually
split them up.
you can actually look at the old DC universe as an example of what happens when you fail to connect your stories.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Now
very
it's
true.
no longer a thing because they failed to connect their
When
stories. and
every
everyone
movie
hated
is
them.
its own thing, it's
Like,
like, wow,
they-
there's
look
no
how well that
cohesiveness.
worked.
There's no grand story here. And then they
Oh.
try to slop together a Justice League movie, and they're like, none of this fits.
Yeah, it's just terrible. Okay, Tyler, good job. You sparked a little segment there, but yeah,
Try.
yeah, no, that was a great point. I've also seen people complaining about that, and I literally will just immediately skip the video because you're an idiot if you're going to complain about that. So
Yeah, I watched it the second time, and when I watched it the second time, these two guys walked past me, and they're like, "That movie wasn't very good. Who was that green guy, and what was that thing coming out of the ocean?" I'm like, "All right, so
bro,
why were you here?"
Who was the green guy?
Who said
And
that?
what was the thing?
Just
When
some
you were
two
at the
random
theater,
guys
you
that
were
You
walked
did,
past.
saying
Jack.
it?
Yeah,
Yeah, it was me.
Yeah.
Who's that green guy named Samuel Stern?
That's crazy.
Why was his name
Spoilers.
Mr. Blue?
when he's
Mr. Blue
green.
Sky?
Okay, well, let's go ahead and
It has
actually
nothing to do with
get
that song.
to the review here. All right, I'll kick us off here. I'll try to read everything I wrote fairly quickly. I wrote a lot, but I will try to go through it quickly. That way it doesn't take a long time. Okay. this is one of the first movies where watching it a second time genuinely changed my opinions fairly significantly. When I walked out of the theater for the first time, I was sitting around a three, maybe a three and a half. I had a pretty decent list of complaints, but one of my biggest complaints was that this film completely felt like the pacing was just off the walls. The first half felt like it lasted for a minimum of 2 hours, and it completely failed to grab my interest. Didn't feel like an MCU movie, and all around had me feeling really disappointed. Then the second half kicked in, and once they got to Celestial Island, I felt like everything definitely took a great turn towards being a good movie. Everything was building up really well, and I was genuinely hyped. And then the most anticlimactic ending that they could have done greatly upset me. All of this had me feeling a massive bag of mixed emotions, and overall, I was pretty set on a 3 out of 5. Here's where the rewatch stepped in and shocked the hell out of me. I'd seen a lot of people saying that they liked it more on rewatch, but I was struggling to see how my opinions would change. However, just like this prophecy foretold, I somehow was already enjoying the movie more within the first 30 minutes. Then another 30 minutes went by, and my enjoyment level was still going up. Somehow my thoughts were actively changing on the second watch, and I wasn't really sure why. However, after some time to consider it all, I believe I've been able to put together some pieces as to why this was happening. First off, when you know where the story is going, it makes some of the boring aspects of the movie absolutely fly by. The crime slash thriller genre shines way brighter because you're no longer feeling that no sense of direction. The first time I went in completely clueless as to where the story was going to go, but this time knowing that it was more of a mystery action where I actively knew that they were trying to solve this crime essentially turned it into a much more intense movie that started kind of fading away some of my initial issues. One of my biggest pros in this movie is the choreography and the action. Mixing Sam Wilson's acrobatic fighting style with the shield is absolute cinema. Um, there are so many creative ways that Sam fights in this movie. I love the fight in the prison where he kicks the shield up and then off the wall and it ricochets. That was sick. We have not seen somebody use the shield this way before, and it is awesome. Like, not to discount Cap. Obviously, Cap is like Steve. Obviously, he's the one with the shield, but I love how he fights with this. Like, I just find it so entertaining watching him ricochet as well. He does a ton of ricocheting with the shield. Like in this movie, I swear that's like one of his most common attacks, throwing it off of things, and it's badass. Another thing that really elevated this movie for me was the acting, aside from one character who I will get into. I thought that the acting was pretty much incredible all around. Harrison Ford had so much hype into building the MCU, and he did not disappoint at all. Every word spoken from Ford was great, and with the storyline as well as the CGI, I loved pretty much everything involving Ross and Red Hulk. I just thought it was incredible. No pun intended.
God,
Say that again.
Alongside him was the super enjoyable acting from Anthony Mackie, who has now convinced me that he is capable of being a fairly major character in the MCU. He delivers his lines very well and drops some really good lines throughout this movie. He does great at capturing that wise and noble spirit of who Captain America is, yet he feels different and unique, so it's not just a carbon copy of Steve. I love our villain. Bringing back Tim Blake Nelson to play the leader was awesome, and I thought he did a really good job. He felt like actually unnerving and really creepy. His line deliveries were great, and his line towards the end where he asked Sam why he wasn't smiling anymore sent chills down my spine. That was genuinely horrifying. And while it wasn't the comic accurate look, I liked this much more. This was one of the comic accurate designs where I was honestly concerned that they were just going to make a giant 3 foot green forehead. And I was not looking forward to it. And I liked the way this looked. I thought it looked grotesque, it looked creepy, and I liked the eyes too. The eyes really stood out. I liked the green eyes and the one blind eye. Thought it was really interesting. Um, Now I'm not saying this is a phenomenal movie. While I am speaking highly on it, that's more so because I was shocked by this rewatch and it caught me off guard. But I am not saying this movie's peak. While I did love the final fight scene between Sam and Ross, I absolutely hate the way that it ended. I will kind of buy into the talking him down motive just because Red Hulk is more sentient and capable of reasoning, and the whole story is that Ross is actually a good person, so it's out of his control, so they want to give him this, in quotes, good ending. However, I find it absurd to believe one of two things. One, Sam is not going to get even close to defeating the Red Hulk by himself, and two, how does he even survive? And here's a third, actually, there's a third thing as well. Why are we not including a cameo for Hulk or Abomination in this moment? This is perfect. This could easily have given him the help to actually defeat Red Hulk. And while I understand not wanting to take away from Cap, I really don't think anybody would have been complaining. I still think that the fight itself was great, but we could have had one of the better MCU fights in a while if it just ended better than just talking him down and just getting him to stop. Um, that other issue I mentioned earlier with the acting was Sabra, which was Shira Haas's character. I thought that she displayed literally zero emotion whatsoever, and her voice sounded like an AI for most of the movie. I just didn't think she did good at displaying her emotions. Her character also felt horribly underwritten and randomly overpowered. We used the Black Widow history as a plot device to make her unnecessarily strong without actually developing her as a character at all. For such a major character, I just never once liked her. Last thing here, this movie has other issues as well, but the Red Hulk ending was the biggest that really affected my rating. However, I did still absolutely enjoy the hell out of this film. This is a super fun vibe that we've never really had in the MCU. It feels like the crime/thriller movie pulled straight out of the 90s in the best way possible with a superhero twist to it. The action is badass, the acting is great, the CGI was amazing for the most part, and the story was very fun. And I will save my synopsis and rating till the end.
Nice
Go
one,
ahead,
Gil. I like that.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to start my pros, how I'll start my cons as well, but I'll start my pros by saying that the best trait about this movie is that this movie has all the feelings of like a classic Captain America mystery action movie with our solid lead, Sam Wilson. I think that's the best way you're going to get people to do this is it felt kind of like Winter Soldier. I'm not saying it's enacted the same way, but it felt similar.
Mhm.
Overall, I did like how Mackie and Ford did this one acting wise. Gabe, you're right. To me, I didn't really have any problems. I didn't really like for MCU movies. I'm never really like caring about the acting as much. I mean, it's important, but like I don't know. I'm not usually like a stickler as much if it's like a narrative drama. But I maybe there's an argument for her being underwritten. I just didn't really care that much as much. That's fine. Gabe didn't know. I really thought the suit for Sam was great. I know we've like seen similar, but it was really good. The vibranium wings were really cool. Just like the purple was really cool. Just provided some of the best moments action wise. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was great. We get a reference to adamantium in this movie. Maybe helps start plunging towards X-Men. It's a last little touch. I'm personally a really big fan of Danny Ramirez as the new Falcon. I thought he seemed like a really cool guy. His character is one I enjoy, and I look forward to seeing his story kind of flesh out in the future. I just was really enjoying his character. The action is solid in this movie. The big fight scenes are the best executed. The ones that I enjoyed the most were obviously the 1v1 versus Red Hulk. I think the beginning of the fight is great. Gabe, I'll get into the second half, of course, too. But the best scene, in my opinion, was where they're over the island and fighting, like where they're trying to de-escalate with the Japanese pilots. That was a great scene.
Yeah, I didn't mention that, but that was probably my favorite scene in the movie as well.
Yeah, that action sequence was really great. And just of course, like the juxtaposition of like Harrison Ford,
hulking out.
Yes, I was gonna say crashing out, but I didn't want to say crashing out.
I mean,
but he is pretty much.
Yeah, he's tweaking.
I liked how the mystery of the leader and the connection to Ross unfolded. At first, I had like a little note where I was like, what's this plan even mean? Like just in the back of my mind, like how is it unfolding? And I started being like, okay, I actually enjoy how this is going. It was kind of like a slow burner, kind of like it was really well fleshed out. I thought it felt well crafted. I didn't think it lacked conviction, like from the leader's perspective, like what his motives were. I never was like, oh, this is stupid. Like I don't know. I thought he actually had reason to be doing what he was doing. One of the best moments of the entire movie, tonally for me, was when Sam and Ross are on the plane having the conversation where they have to feel like where they're talking about how they're both men who feel like they have something to prove. I just thought that was a really great candid moment and felt like the driving theme of the movie, besides the togetherness, of course. Like, that was like Ross's whole campaign, but just the whole thing of like having to prove like I guess that's how Sam Wilson's Captain America has been this entire time as Captain America is trying to separate himself from Steve Rogers, which I thought this movie did a good job. And I'm not sure what people say, yeah, but I know you said you liked it. I agree. I do think the transformation scene to the Red Hulk and the effects of Ford were quite good. I wasn't disappointed with the execution at all. On to my cons, and I'll start the same way. The cons and the worst trait for me to this movie was this movie is a Hulk movie with no Bruce Banner, and I thought it lacked some qualities of one. So while it felt like a Captain America movie, narratively, it's a Hulk movie, and it just kind of meshed weirdly. I think that's like a big thing. Is like the people that are giving it really bad ratings are like the people that clearly were not anticipating that much of the story. I think, at least that's my guess. I don't know, and I
Mhm.
think that for me, it doesn't hurt as bad. But whatever. Uh, no title card for the Marvel. That was negative brownie points for me. I don't care what anyone says. It was negative brownie points. um, I did think
That
there
is
was some.
bullshit.
Bro
I
doesn't
did.
like No Way Home.
He doesn't like what?
No Way Home. They do it in No Way Home. They don't have one.
Yeah,
There's
they're
several that do it
sickos.
too.
Yeah, there's like
I'm just
multiple.
saying negative brownie points, whatever. Um, I thought there was some classic corny Marvel moments. The sense when they read, I don't know. I was like, okay, I don't know. Then the whole fight with like that big guy at the beginning, with like the first fight when he breaks into Cyborgs, that whole fight was like, it was littered with him. It was like, you need a hand, and he hits him again, and he says it again. I was like,
Yeah, there was some rough dialogue in that one.
that fight was not great. Um, Mostly everything with the Sidewinder to me felt odd. Most of his fiends felt like the ones where they had, it come out that some things were reshot. Generally, and if they weren't, generally they felt off. I didn't see how his character will transition to the next phases. I know how he was used, but I just didn't really care for it that much. Um, and I said I like the transformation scenes and the CGI of that, but the green screens at the end were terrible. I mean, downright terrible. Like they were not good. I
Where?
don't.
The one where
They're
like
on the
it's like
on
Hulk
the
like looking
street.
down at Cap.
Holy, that was really
It's
bad.
it's
It's
so
terrible.
bad.
It was
I don't
so
even
bad.
remember that.
It's
Yeah.
so bad.
It's
It's like the
terrible.
only moment in the movie that I remember being like,
Yeah,
oh,
the green screens of the cherry blossoms in that street, terrible. I don't know how they
Yeah.
did that so bad,
Yeah.
but it was not good.
yeah, that's rough. That's like the number
Am
one
I
thing.
crazy for not noticing anything
If
wrong
you
with
watch
that?
it again, I believe you will notice
I
it.
guarantee if you
pointed,
yeah,
it's
it's not good.
I didn't notice it as much on the first time. I remember thinking it looked weird, and then the second watch, I was like, "Oh
It's
my!"
like the
Yeah,
way
like
they're like
on the first watch, I didn't like even notice anything off at all.
it's like the way they're blended, I think, into the background. I don't know, like the shading is not right. Anyways, and then of course, unfortunately, I just didn't think the ending to the fight was very convincing. I didn't even the convinces the Hulk come down. Yeah, maybe he is more sentient or whatever. But in that fight earlier, he tries the same thing. He says like, "Think of Betty," and it doesn't work. And then
He
it
literally
works later.
says that didn't work.
Yeah, and then he tries the exact same thing later, and then it works. I was like,
Yeah.
That went a lot better in my head.
I was like, maybe if they tried it one time, I'd be like less mad about it. But the fact that he said it one time and it didn't work, and then he just does the same thing later and it works, not as
Dude, he was tired.
I don't know. It
He,
was
he
that,
was he was EP.
definitely agree they could have added more Bruce Banner. That would
You
have
say
been
he
awesome.
was EP?
Yeah.
And then my other comment,
He does get weaker over time.
I thought the end credit scene was really cool. So
Mm.
I'll leave it there.
End credit scene was horrible.
Yeah, it told us
Well,
stuff we already know.
I don't think it was horrible.
I just thought it was cool.
They just didn't.
There's a
they just
multiverse.
they just didn't rely on the fact that obviously we know that Doomsday is going to be a multiversal movie.
I didn't think it was like a pro or con. I just thought it was cool.
No,
But
no, that's fine.
Nope, you're insane.
Yeah,
Review card revoked.
Bros hating it.
finally.
Better find a new pod.
all right.
All right, Jack, you're up.
All right. Let's do it, kids. So this is a movie that I had absolutely I was hyped for this at the beginning of the year. The like showing pre-screenings came out and all the reviews started coming out, and I basically by the time I went into it, I had no idea what to expect. One thing that I was expecting and was not surprised by it, Harrison Ford was probably my favorite part of this movie. That was a easy layup expectation for me, and basically every time he was on the screen. I'm not just saying it was just him. I'm just saying the scenes involving him, whether it's he's on screen with Anthony Mackie or whatever. I thought those were all the best moments of the movie, essentially. You could tell Caleb kind of talked about how stuff with Sidewinder felt kind of weird in the beginning, kind of fell off. I think that's where most the like reshooting and other problems were probably happening. I don't think there was a lot wrong with their whole Ross storyline with Sam Wilson. Anyway, so like I said, speaking of Anthony Mackie, I thought I'm going to agree with you guys. I think he's genuinely good for this role. I do wish we had I know he's in Thunderbolts, but I do wish we had more Bucky because that's like the best aspect of Falcon and the Winter Soldier is their dynamic together. They're such good friends off the screen, and I think they work really well on the screen. Not to mention Bucky is just as engraved with Steve Rogers as Sam is. So I'm glad they had that scene together, but I wish they would add more than that. However, Anthony Mackie fits so well in this role that I think it's still really fun time to watch him interacting with Isaiah and Joaquin. That was an enjoyable aspect, especially in the first half of this movie where we had more problems. That was something you could still enjoy seeing in the first half was just them interacting with each other. I would agree that the leader was done pretty well and really everything involving like wrapping up loose ends or continuing the MCU. I thought all of that was done pretty solidly, and I really liked the conspiracy plotline. You guys kind of already mentioned it. I really liked that plotline with the leader exacting revenge on Ross. That was interesting to figure out, and the build up to the all the Red Hulk stuff, like the intensity in the second half of the movie really amps up very well, in my opinion. And speaking of that, as soon as we got to the Celestial Island, once again, in agreement with you guys, I think that's the best part of the movie. I think the action takes off there. Some of the action's pretty fun, like the choreography like Gabe was talking about. But like what Caleb was mentioning, the some of the writing or some of the scenes are just like, okay, we're just kind of we're doing what Captain America has to do in this movie, and I think it really amps up when you get to the Celestial Island point. Me personally, I think Red Hulk should have appeared there as well. And I'm not exactly sure you write that into the story, but I thought that would have made for like one of the better fights I've seen since Endgame. If Red Hulk would have showed up there and is like, fucking up these boats, because the intensity would be through the roof. Because if one of those boats sinks, people are dying. If he was swimming, Caleb, get out of here.
He's just hitting the breaststroke.
He's just to the
Hulk
Japanese
can't
front line.
You could just jump.
I was more so thinking, yeah, he would jump like a half a mile onto the other boats, and then just
No,
like
he just
that would be
drowns.
crazy. That would be insane. And even if you don't want to go Red Hulk there, no reason you could have introduced another intimidating villain to fight there in that moment. There's a plethora of villains that Marvel could use, and that's kind of how we built it up in Phase One was introducing all these villains and stuff on the side. I'm not acknowledging that, Caleb. And then the last pro I did want to mention was I actually really did like that this was a grounded MCU movie. We've had a lot of whether it's space or multiverse or time travel. We've had a lot of that recently. I really appreciate that this was felt like a grounded Captain America movie, like we talked about, and just had a pretty good story, honestly. So that was a really enjoyable aspect to that for me. As for the bad, I just talked about how well this movie builds up its intensity and its story to the end. That fight scene was probably the most anticlimactic way you could have ended that movie. Um, Not only I think is it too short, like I know he like destroys buildings and like some helicopters, but the Hulk is supposed to be like a genuine monster that people should be like afraid of. And there just wasn't quite enough of that for me. He just basically immediately gets him out onto the wherever the hell they are, where the cherry blossoms are. I don't know if that's an island or a
I think it's just
peninsula or
right
something.
outside. I think it's just right
It's
outside
just
the White House.
I just know he just gets him immediately to some open area. And since when does any version of the Hulk just stop fighting and let you reason with them? That's pretty much my biggest problem with all of that. And if you're gonna reason with him, why is Betty not doing it? I didn't know that Red Hulk and Sam Wilson were lovers and that he could calm him down with his soothing voice, but it just doesn't
Why
make
they're
any.
lovers.
I'm just saying, no one has ever calmed the Hulk down out of his rage other than a lover or someone
Well,
that he's very deeply connected with. And so it's just like, oh, Sam Wilson, one of the people who has actively annoyed me in the past that I kind of like, I want to like better, but he's like not even a friend.
Well, like Gabe
And
said
and
earlier, this Red Hulk is a lot more
yeah,
sentient
he's
than
not the Hulk. They're
it's
two
just it's
different
one
characters.
well,
person this
isn't
time
the Red
versus
Hulk
the
not in the comics supposed to be like a more rageful version of him? He's literally like on
Strong,
fire.
stronger. I don't think he's more rageful. He's just stronger. He
He
can like sentiently
literally
speak. Like he
has like
speaks with people.
he's literally
Like
like burning hot
right, because
red because he's
he's
that
stronger,
angry.
but he
and this is
speaks.
also like his first
angrier.
time doing this.
Okay, angrier, sure, but he's still like he's
Well,
not Hulk
regardless
who's
of
like
your
Hulk
explanations,
smash.
regardless of your explanations, I don't like that he gets talked down by Sam Wilson. If he's gonna get talked down, it'll be by someone close to him or someone who has a connection with him.
Agree.
It shouldn't be random ass Captain America. I wouldn't like it if
As Captain America.
I wouldn't like it if Iron Man did. I wouldn't like it
What a
if
random.
Steve Rogers did it, or it's got to be someone that he has a connection with, in my opinion. Because if I'm the Red Hulk and I don't even like this guy, I'm like backhanding him into the sun. Uh, Get out of my sight. Anyhow, um, I'm gonna have to agree once again. Not having Bruce Banner in this movie is just such a bad miss that they really could have brought that in. If you're going to make an Incredible Hulk sequel, why are you not redeeming the whole character that you've literally ruined in your last 5 years of making movies? Or really more than 5 years, huh? But honestly, and not even just that, but they could have brought in a lot of different other characters. They're implying that this is like rebuilding the Avengers and stuff. And I just felt like they could have tried to do more if they took more risks, but instead they kind of just played it safe. And it kind of more so results in a solid or mediocre film versus what could have been a really great movie, in my opinion. I also didn't really care for the Sidewinder stuff. Giancarlo Esposito is a really good actor, and we just cast him to be like a side thug villain for Captain America to wail on for a couple hits. Like he was basically like a worse version of Crossbones. Why would you get Giancarlo Esposito to do that? So, and like I mentioned earlier, I think that's where a lot of the reshoots and problems came in, were all those storylines and those scenes. So that was just kind of a con for me. I also, we already talked about this a little bit, but I'm not a fan of what I deem laziness in using vibranium as a catch-all plot device to make Sam a believable Captain America. They're literally just like, oh, well, we don't want him to have super soldier serum, so he's gonna die in any fight unless we figure something out. Oh, okay, we'll just give him vibranium for everything. And suddenly he can like fly 3,000 miles into the ground and then land on his knees. Well, he has vibranium, so it's probably fine. He's got vibranium knee pads, so it absorbs the energy or something. Or like he's literally taking on the Hulk and taking on all of his hits just because he has vibranium wings. Just for the Hulk, just for the Hulk to then just rip them off anyway. There's just no way that Sam Wilson's Captain America, great character. There's no way it's a believable fight with the Hulk where he doesn't die in like 12 seconds. And especially if it's not just like him running away from the Hulk, because that would make sense if he could escape him by being agile. He he gets caught and he even like fights with him. He's dying. But we just do basically I just don't like it. He should have super soldier serum. There's no reason to not to. Yeah, they
That's
portray
kind
it
of
as
the whole
like
point. That's kind of the
they
whole point.
portray it
that
as some like
it's-
honorable thing, but
Yeah.
then he's just gonna die. But he won't because of vibranium. But he should be dead. Not that I want him to die. Don't don't take it as that. I like Sam Wilson, but I don't see it without the super soldier serum, and that's just not a good enough explanation for me.
Rogers dissed Black Panther.
Black Panther has superpowers without the suit.
True, but the suit saves his ass so many
He also has
times.
to take.
He also
something that
has
gives him
superpowers.
But the suit actively, I mean, it's
What'd you
never.
say, Tyler? That he takes something to give him superpowers? What the fuck do you think super soldier serum is?
Not that.
It's the same thing.
All right.
Good. That was good.
The
Yes, he does have superpowers, but there are several times where
But
the
see-
suit does all the work because he just takes the hits and then uses the suit to.
But he could take a lot of those hits without the suit. The suit just helps him redistribute
I think
the energy.
suit helps a lot with taking hits. The suit definitely is doing a lot.
The
with taking
super
hits.
strength that Captain America and Black Panther have is what allows them to use the vibranium so well.
Well, that's why Black Panther probably would have won
A
the
normal,
fight. I mean, Sam didn't beat Hulk. He just didn't get beat. Like he didn't
which is
win.
crazy to me. He should be dead.
Well,
A regular guy with some wings is dead against
There
the
are
Hulk.
more than some wings. They're like
Yes,
the
because they're
greatest material.
vibranium wings,
It's
so they can
literally
stop
one of the
everything.
greatest materials in the MCU, and you're calling it a plot device. Like what?
Because we
Are
just
Iron
throw it
Man
to anyone
suits
who
plot
needs-
devices? Like
he works for those and builds them. Oh, it
And
was
the
a gift.
Wakandans work
It was
for
a
them to
gift
build
in
them.
between movies. We just gave it to him so he would be able to be Captain
well,
America.
he was a part of saving the entire planet, so it's a pretty good gift.
He
I think
died.
He's worthy of it. and he came back at the end. And
What'd he do in the
definitely had-
Portals fight? What'd he do?
only
On
said
your
the
left.
biggest line in the movie, and then
He
ends
said
up
on
having
your left.
multiple
That's
scenes.
his credit for saving
Literally
the
is
universe.
every
He
single
said the
one of
cool line.
Avengers.
Do you think he was just sitting there watching
Yeah,
the
like
fight
just
happen?
taking
I
a
know
break.
for damn sure he didn't fight Thanos.
Oh, not many people did. It wasn't
So why
everybody
is he
taking
getting all
shots.
this vibration?
Because he's an Avenger.
Sam Wilson is a guy. We don't
This
just
is
give
so
vibranium
stupid.
to every single person.
He's not just a guy. He's Captain America.
Doesn't have super soldier serum.
He's still Captain America.
John Walker's winning the fight.
Oh my god.
No, he's not.
Move on. I can't.
One's a superhuman, one's not. I'm not even mad at it. I just
This is
want
fun.
Sam to have super serum. Because he should. He deserves it. Because he's just an unbelievable hero without it. Anyway, and my last con is just the pacing in the first half of this movie. With Gabe's first review of the film, he was basically spitting everything I was talking about. I just feel like it's all over the place. I felt like the introductions to all the characters were just rushed or not done that well. I felt that was one of the points where they struggled the most, aside from their ending. Introducing these characters like Ruth, Sidewinder, even like reintroducing Joaquin in the mix. I feel like everything was just ushered in and dropped in the middle of the chaos. And which is the same approach Winter Soldier took, except for Winter Soldier is a sequel and not the first Avenger. They needed to take more time, I think, to build that up. But we gotta shut the hell up. Anyway,
Sorry.
I'm reading a review and all I see are chats popping up on my phone. That's pretty much all I have. I'm pretty much out of wind anyway. But yeah, we're saving our reviews for the end, or ratings for the end.
All right,
Go,
TB.
Jack.
All right. Well, I'm gonna start by saying, Gabe, I agree with you. This movie definitely needed a second rewatch, and that second rewatch made the movie better slightly. And for me, in the second rewatch, it just flew by. I mean, 2 hours just was gone in a matter of seconds. So I'm gonna start by saying the critics are wrong about this movie. 50% of Rotten Tomatoes for this. That's just simply way too low. That being said, this movie isn't great, but by no means is it bad. The story was pretty good. We finally talked about the Celestial, and having it be made out of adamantium was brilliant. We finally... Oh, wait, no, read that. The leader, despite his unique take on the design, was a great villain and a bright spot in this movie for me. The fighting choreography was very good, especially on Celestial Island. Also, the score during that moment was really good, too. As a Harrison Ford hater, I thought this was by far his best movie I've ever seen him acting wise. I've never seen him give so much effort and emotion while acting before. It's like he actually cared for once. It was crazy. I thought the pacing for the first part of the wait, where the fuck did I go? Wow, I lost
POV, you got snapped away.
it. There it is. I thought the pacing for the first part of the movie up until the White House shooting was very fast and all over the place. But after that, it started to steady out. John Carlo's character was just a marketing ploy. You could have gotten someone else for this borderline irrelevant character. Isaiah Bradley, just like in Falcon and Winter Soldier, was really good in this movie. Now for the big discussion, the ending. I found the ending to be very underwhelming. Seeing the Red Hulk fuck shit up was awesome to see. I mean, we haven't seen it at that level since Age of Ultron, which was 10 years ago. I mean, the final fight itself was very entertaining. However, you do see a good amount of it in the trailer, which, going back to Gabe's point in our first few episodes, that's a problem. I understand having Red Hulk being a major marketing tool, which was done very well. It got a lot of people in seats, but you can so easily hint at it without showing it in the trailer. Unfortunately, I was not as hyped as I should have been when he showed up because I knew he was coming, and there are so many cool action scenes that would have got me hyped, but again, we already saw it in the trailer. When it comes to the CGI, I thought close-up shots looked amazing, but some action scenes looked wacky. It wasn't She-Hulk bad, but it wasn't Avengers or the Incredible Hulk good. To finish this topic off, I hated how they handled the ending of the fight. A big reason why we came here was to see this fight. Marvel, don't edge us like that. Finally, 2 hours was simply way too short. This movie would have benefited heavily from an extra 20 to 30 minutes. And I'll save my final statement to the end.
Oh, that's a great point. I didn't say that, but I absolutely agree. This movie should have been longer. That's a good point. Well done.
Thanks.
Okay, I'll give my little spoiler-free segment here, and then my rating. All I was hearing was that this movie needed to be watched twice. My first thought was, why would that really change my thoughts if I literally just watched it? I've never seen a film twice in theaters and had my thoughts actually get swayed. However, I went ahead and gave this one a second watch, like everybody said, and shockingly, I found myself enjoying nearly every aspect of the movie more. Just to highlight a few things, I thought the acting was incredible for the most part, the fighting and the action was great, the mystery aspect was thrilling, and the villain was also great. If it wasn't for a disappointing ending, I would have had this movie rated incredibly high. However, I did still greatly enjoy this movie and thought it was incredibly fun. I will be giving this a 4 out of 5.
Nice. All right, my
Well
little
done,
summary.
Arthur.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um, in summary, I'll say this movie felt very familiar, and generally speaking, that's a good thing. I enjoyed seeing the mystery unfold and seeing more of Sam's character being portrayed on screen, as well as the startup to Torres as Falcon and Ross becoming the Red Hulk was obviously a nice touch. But I did feel like this movie was just a little bit misguided in what it set out to be. I have some knocks on it from a technical aspect, like the green screens or whatever. But the big thing that held me back was just like the tone of the movie and the questioning how this movie kind of slots in to our story. So I ended up giving it a 3 out of 5, better than what the consensus is right now, but pretty close.
Fair enough.
Wait, what'd you give it?
3.
You gave it a 3.
Okay.
As for me, I think this is a movie that has some really good performances to see from Harrison Ford and Anthony Mackie. It also has a Winter Soldier-esque vibe to it that's definitely worth seeing. There's some great action and some great storytelling. It's pretty intense. However, I think the beginning is not quite what it needs to be. I think that's where most of the production problems came into play, and I just do not think they stuck the ending at all. In the final fight scene, or the final kind of sequence and fight, could have been much, much better. So I am also at a 3 out of 5 at this time.
All right. I said overall, the critics yet again are not to be trusted. No way does this movie deserve a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's not the best Captain America movie. Hell, this isn't even a Captain America movie. It's an Incredible Hulk sequel. It has its issues, and they missed out on some cool moments that should have been added in. For example, having Bruce Banner in this movie was a major miss. Our villain is a Hulk villain. The Hulk should be in it. And the final fight should have been longer. But despite this, the movie was still fun. The fighting was great, the story and our villain was really good, and we got to see a Hulk wreak havoc for the first time in a decade. Do you have to do your homework first? Yes, but guess what? It's a cinematic universe. If you expected anything less, then the universe isn't going to be a good one. If you haven't seen it, go see it and simply sit back and enjoy a fun superhero movie. And I gave this a 3.5 out of 5.
There we go. That is the Culture versus official Brave New World review. So definitely let us know in the comments on social media if you guys liked it or not. We've been posting some polls on the story on Instagram and getting some more posts up as well. So make sure you guys give any feedback you want there. But yeah, let us know what you guys thought about the movie for sure. We're definitely interested in hearing your opinions on it. Yeah.
Don't forget to check out our Twitter too. We are pretty active on there as well.
Yes, for sure. Definitely trying to kind of expand a bit. You guys can check out our link tree, which is posted on Instagram in the bio. It will be also posted on the Twitter bio, TikTok bio, and in the Spotify bio. But as always, we really appreciate you guys listening, and we will catch you in the next episode.